Hi guys, this is John Judd. I'm bringing you a really basic theory tutorial. So if you know nothing about theory and you're just starting out and you want to figure out what all this is about, this is your spot to start. If you know something about theory, you'd probably be best suited to watch another video. So that's where it is. By the way, everything in this video is going to be in FL Studio 12, but you can apply the theory concepts to any digital audio workstation or DAW. So it doesn't matter which one you're using. If you happen to be interested in FL12, I've provided affiliate links in the description, which that means you can get a 10% discount on FL Studio should you purchase it. I also have website links there, and if you happen to find this video helpful, please like and subscribe. So on to the theory part of things. What we're going to talk about today, a C major scale, okay, and perhaps what we can do with a C major scale. Let's take this. This happens to be, hold on, I just want to make sure we're recording. Yep. This happens to be a C major scale. So if you took the white notes on the piano and played from C to C, this is what you would get, a major scale. Here's what it sounds like. There we go. Pretty basic stuff right there. Okay, every major scale is built on a formula, and all major scales have the same exact formula. Between all of these, they have a different amount of whole steps or half steps. So a whole step has two half steps in it, and a half step is just one half step. Some people refer to half steps as one semitone, which it's interchangeable. So here's the formula for a major scale. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that means if we took this C major scale that we all know and love, let's say you decided, I don't like my song in C, I want it in F. Sounds exactly the same in a different key. And the reason is that the formula is exactly the same. Now, one special note in the FL Studio piano roll, I can't remember if it's different in other DAWs. It probably is, may not be. I use Pro Tools and also Digital Performer, but also FL Studio is my main DAW. So this note, B flat. The key of F has a B flat in it, okay? It's labeled A sharp in the actual scale. Theoretically, the right note right there is a B flat. B flat and A sharp are exactly the same note. It's known as an enharmonic. So it doesn't matter. Nice. It doesn't really matter, but that's where we are. So let's bring that back to C. Okay, so let's say we labeled all these with numbers. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the 8th scale tone is redundant. So from the C major scale, we're going to take all the chords that will be built off of the C major scale. Maybe not all of them. We're going to take a handful of them. But the most fundamental chords that are built off the C major scale are known as triads. Now, triads are basically taking every other note. And if you play chords on your piano or controller, you know what they sound like. Triads are built 1, 3, 5 from the key that they're actually starting in, or depending on if it's minor or something, could be 1 flat 3, 5. In any event, they're every other note starting on whatever note you're starting on. And the formula for the triads is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and major is redundant from the first one. So you get C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C major again. Here's what the triads sound like. There we are. Now let's move on to sevenths. Seventh chords add, you know how triads had 1, 3, 5? That was kind of the fundamental, you know, triads would be 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, and so on. Seventh chords are adding an extra note. You're wondering, well, why seventh? Why wouldn't it be called fourths or something like that? And the reason is they've added a fourth note, which happens to be the seventh degree in relation to the first note being played. So in C major 7 is spelled 1, 3, 5, 7. And so, you know, everything goes on 2, 4, 6, and, you know, and 2, 4, 6, 8, every other note. Now, seventh chords happen to add a little more richness to what you're working on. It's you may or may not like them, but down the road, they definitely add a little more sophistication to whatever chord progression you could be playing. So this is what sevenths sound like. A little more rich, a different kind of vibe. If you mix sevenths in sometimes with your triads, you can get some interesting sounds. By the way, I should kind of backtrack and say this is a C major scale that we first started on. I should kind of mention that the people call that a C diatonic scale. Triads, those are the diatonic chords, and so are these. And diatonic typically means just within this particular key. Now, what are you going to do with all this information? Let's say you're trying to, I want to write a chord progression. I just need to write a chord progression. I should mention one more thing before I tell you about the chord progressions. Over here, with triads, we had, you know, C major, D minor, E minor, and so on. With seventh chords, you have C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, B half diminished, or also known as B minor 7 flat 5, and of course, C major 7 again. So what am I going to do with all this information? Here's what you're going to do with it. Let's say we took a really common chord progression in pop music. C, G, A minor, F. Now I'm going to call that by what I would typically call it. That's a 1, 5, 6, 4. Those are the triads. Now here's what it's going to sound like. Guaranteed you've heard that a million times before. Okay, so mixing up like 1, 5, 6, 4. There's like, if you mix them up, you have a ton of pop songs right there. Doesn't have to be 1, 5, 6, 4. It could be any combination of those particular chords, to be honest. Now, there's one thing I should mention here. This particular thing right here, all of these are in what is known as root position. Okay, and root position also has a tendency to sound very basic and maybe even lame. Okay, so it's really a good idea to keep common tones and keep them in the right places because it affects the voice leading, and typically the fewer voices move, the stronger the actual sequence will sound. And it'll sound more melodic, believe it or not, even though there's less movement across the keyboard. It'll just sound not so disjointed as this root position thing. When you have something that is other than root position, they're typically referred to as inversions of those chords. Here's the root position thing again. Okay, sounds good, basic, you know. Here's something with better voice leading. It's a little stronger. might be likely to like switch that by an octave or something, or move one of these notes, like the bottom line. Actually, to be honest, I might take that line and move it up an octave. Actually, I kind of like that a little better. See these common tones right here? Common tones are what we're talking about. Like you have the common tones, you're not like jumping around. The common tones between the chords are kind of what gives it a strength and more melody. Okay, so that's where we are with C major. I'm sure there are a lot of other things we could have discussed, but those are the basics right now. If you have any questions or something, please feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll address them if I can, either by just addressing them in the comments or making another video on it if you happen to not understand this stuff. So thank you for watching. You do have a wonderful day.